Now, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another TokuCHATsu on Weekend Dojo. I am here with the reviewer formerly known as Kenman Rider.
I am Proton. I am a hero, but I sound evil. I'm a hypocrite. Don't listen to me.
You can call yourself an anti-hero. Anywho,
Yes.
Tonight we will be talking about both the most recent episode of Kamen Rider and the new Godzilla movie, Shin Godzilla.
Yes. And I will be commenting on very interesting things within the movie. You may or may not know my opinion.
Now, starting off with Kamen Rider, I definitely liked that a lot of what Kronos is doing reflects what Dan Kuroto did when he was the big bad villain.
Yes, but he seems to have a more sinister motive than Dan did. Dan was just a self-righteous narcissist, whereas his dad seems to view everything as a product and isn't really evil in his eyes, but just doing business, kind of like the mafia.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, I do recognize that, but I have to say, it is easy to tell from their behavior that they're related, is it not?
It is easy, yes.
So I guess that's kind of what interests me. Is I'm like, okay, so can we actually just go back and rewatch all the episodes up until Dan died to figure out what's going to happen in the upcoming episodes?
I don't think so. I don't think we can do that. I'm pretty sure the creators thought through that before deciding the whole plot setting and all that.
Well, if we start to notice a pattern, then we'll keep an eye open.
Mm-hmm. I'm not noticing a pattern so far.
Aside from that, let's talk about how they came up with a plan to fight off Kronos' power of pause.
Oh yes, Dan's ability to to hack into other servers.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm more interested in what happened between Emu and Dan when they came up with the idea. It went all kind of Looney Tunes.
Yeah, they actually had a friend moment.
Shaking hands.
Mm-hmm. And they had a friendship moment.
I'm really hoping that's the first stepping stone onto an actual team effort.
Mm-hmm. So far, we've got a lot of hatred in the group from beginning to now.
Oh yeah, none of them really get along.
Nope, Dan and Emu seem to get along the best. Or
but I think that's just
Neo Dan Kotaro.
But I think that's just because they're both like they understand that they were manipulated into, or rather, they were both dependent on games growing up, and now that they're on the same side, they have a lot more to agree on.
Yes. What about let's talk a little bit. The Snipe and Nico didn't really have major roles in it, but they were still in there. Let's talk about them for a bit.
Okie doke. I suppose we might as well comment about on their continued goal to attempt to beat Kamen Rider Chronicle.
Yes. So far they're not successful. I can tell you that. But from what I've seen in the past few episodes, Nico is really taking advantage of playing Kamen Rider Chronicle.
Absolutely.
And that hat.
I hope there's toys of that.
Yes, I hope we get a hat, a Nico hat, and those buttons, because the backpack, especially with the buttons, because I want to buy that. I don't care if it's girly, I want to buy that.
I want an action figure of that.
Yes, me too. Too bad they don't release Kamen Rider girl action figures that much, unless they're SIC or no, unless they're SH figure exclusives.
Well, didn't Mage from Wizard get an action figure?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah,
Actually,
look up Wizard Action Please Mage.
I will get my phone right now and do that.
For those of you who don't know, Wizard Action Please was the gimmick toy line of Kamen Rider Wizard, the 5th Neo Heisei era Kamen Rider.
Yeah, because action please, that's what the henshin says, right?
Please, yeah, it does say please. But they mean action as an action figure, and Wizard as in reference to the show.
Alright, I'm searching it up. Hold on. Say that again?
Wizard Action Please, Kamen Rider Mage.
Please. How do you spell mage?
M-A-G-E.
Okay. Images. Kamen Rider. Okay, I see her now. Is she the one that has like the weird 3 claws that goes over her face and it's orange?
Yep. Hold on. Yeah, that's Mage.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay. There's that mystery off the table.
Anywho, so yeah, really hoping on a Nico, Kamen Rider Nico action figure, maybe just like a ride player upgrade kit that snaps on using the current gimmick system of the toy.
Yes.
Because if you notice, she doesn't wear the full hat; she just plops it on the front.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything specific with it other than just, and it sticks there magically.
Magic.
Miyagi. That's how Toku always works. It's just magic. There's no logic to it. You love it.
Anywho, so the actual event of them defeating, or rather figuring out Kronos's pause ability, essentially was an unexpected glitch, a little thing that didn't get patched.
Really?
I mean, that's how I look at it, because the Bug Visor Zwei is designed to react with the Kronos Gashat for the pause ability. I imagine that it's that the Gashat can tell who is the player by the.
I have to go to dinner.
Okay, go grab it real quick. I'll keep going on for a minute. The Bug Visor Zwei by whoever's wearing the Bug Visor Zwei. So when Dan Kuroto entered into the Bug Visor Zwei, the Master Kamen Rider Chronicle Gashat recognized him as being one of the users of the Bug Visor Zwei, therefore identified him as a player, meaning he was exempt from the abilities of pause, just like Kronos. And that's my explanation. I'm sure there's no real explanation being given so far. Just generic, oh, it's a game, whatnots. But that's just how I'm viewing it. It's how it makes sense in my head. Man, I thought Proton would be back by now. Well, while he's gone, why don't we talk a little bit about the series up to this point and how major changes have been made. Firstly, we've discovered why Emu always smiles before he henshins, or at least for the most part. We've learned how Mighty Brothers Double X works. We're seeing a larger use of dual gashats, which in the beginning weren't that common. In my toy news video, I mentioned that I thought it was a reference to those multi-cards you could get. So far, nothing's been, it's been disproven to me, because like the only ones that have the multi-card thing are the ones with the dial on it, which I cannot draw any comparison between that and a real world game cartridge. Maybe Nintendo World Championships. Maybe Nintendo World Championships. I suppose while he's out grabbing his food, we'll talk about the whole dual gashat thing. I get that it makes it look bigger and it gives you more room for like a gimmick on top. I just hope it doesn't end up overused. I hope like in the movie or something, the final gashat, the big bad, with this weird switcher like control on the top of it, is just a single gashat that maybe fits into the level 3 slot. Just checking in on someone real quick. Anyway, so let's see. Are those glasses your thing now? No, they're not gonna be my thing. I am just exhausted from work, being up since 4 a.m. My eyes are a little puffy and red, so we're going with these so that I do not look like I have been bawling my eyes out. Man, Kenny is taking his time. I guess he's trying to wolf it down as quickly as he can. While he is out there, let's talk about TokuCHATsu as it stands for those who probably don't understand it, most likely being the majority of this audience, as well, I did tag TokuCHATsu in it. Not likely a lot of people watching. I know I broke your heart, sorry. Funny. But let's talk about the history of TokuCHATsu. Let's go as far back as I'm able to go. Let's start with the very first Godzilla film in black and white. Popped up, I believe, just around the time World War II ended, which makes sense. I mean, giant nuclear threat, of course, and there's this that destroys Japan. I suppose there's a parallel, at least. I suppose, was it the 50s? It was the 50s when we got the first Godzilla flick. And that really caught on because it used practical effects. Brushed off so rudely. I apologize. Anyway, the whole idea of using practical effects in movies like that really caught on in Japan, and so they decided to give it its own genre. They called it TokuCHATsu, which literally means special effects. A couple years down the line, you start to have other shows like Ultraman, produced by Toei. And, well, not Ultraman just yet. They started with Ultra Q. And Ultra Q, which I think was still produced, yeah, by Toei. Oh, there's Kenny. Okay, we don't have to listen to my boring ramble anymore. We can get back to it. You are not forgiven. Oh, you wound me.
Just getting my jacket back on. Keep talking.
So I suppose we'll get back to Kamen Rider. I just explained my theory on how the whole possessing the bug visor's Y works.
Okay.
And it's nothing really spectacular. It's just that's how it makes sense in my head.
All right. Well, let me think what I can go through.
Oh, hey, we got someone, another viewer, Miss Mio. Hey, Mio. Great to see you on YouTube.
Okay, Miss Mio. I think that's one I invited.
Actually, Miss Mio is from a couple of different chats I know on Amino.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Well, let's go back to X-Aid. What I'm talking about in terms of X-Aid.
Let's start with character interactions.
Yeah,
what did you find?
In this episode, I noticed a lot of character interaction between Kronos and his son. Well, near the end, but like just a lot of how each of the characters react to Kronos' plan and how he doesn't really care about people's lives. He just sees them as a corporate product.
Indeed.
Kind of like how in the I kind of saw a lot of Godfather-ish type dealings in this episode with Kronos' character.
Parallels to 80s cartoons like Captain Planet.
Okay. Well, I see Kronos as a big business type of man, someone who cares about his business to a full extent that it
absolutely
assumed him into thinking of everyone as a part of his business.
Tone says, now say I'm your favorite person. You're all our favorite person, Tone. You have been adopted by the dojo.
Yes, you all have been adopted by the dojo. You all are ours.
Anyway, go on.
Okay. So, I feel like Kronos' character is kind of like is a symbolism for like this big mob boss type character. He sees everyone as his responsibility, but he's taking it out in the wrong way. Like he sees himself as like this big father to everyone, like an almighty god maybe, but he's handling it like everyone's his product, and Emu knows that he really just sees people as what's called the word expendable, because he thinks they really can't die, and he's just sacrificing more lives than he's actually giving entertainment to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everyone plays video games. Nope. Not everyone has to play video games, and he's trying to force everyone to play a video game pretty much.
Oh, we got another viewer saying hi. I can't read the text so well, so I'm sorry I can't pronounce it, but he says hi, so we say hi as well.
What are we talking? Miss Mio asks, what are we talking about here? We are talking about a Japanese superhero tokusatsu series called Kamen Rider. And if you don't know what tokusatsu is, it is a Japanese film style that uses special effects Mainly crossing live action with anime Dragon Ball Z type special effects, where it has like the energy beams and all that. But the key quality in the genre is, for superheroes, they use spandex and plastic armor pretty much.
And for monsters, they typically use rubber molded suits.
Yes.
Kamen Rider X8 is the most recent in an over 45-year running TV show called Kamen Rider.
Yes, that has had a 10-year gap. I want to say, actually, no, it's 8-year because we're excluding the movies, we're excluding the movies.
Yep. And the motif for this rider is video games. We're just going over this week's episode.
Yes, we are. Let's see.
So, you were saying like the I want to.
Hey, Demi.
He's a Kuroto.
Kuroto. Okay. What were you saying about Kudoro?
His father.
Yes.
You were saying like he views everyone as expendable. I believe he does, but I also believe that part of him is going to break down into something emotional towards the end of this this arc.
That'd be a very interesting view. I'd like to see him break somehow, whether it's the love of his son, or I'm not sure if he secretly actually cares about his son.
That is something I'm going to have to come down. That is something I'm going to have to hold my breath on, because I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I'm hoping really hard for like a big closure moment where Kuroto gets revenge, because that's just the kind of sick person I am.
I want that too. I love evil Kuroto, Dan Kuroto. I'm sorry, but him evil is great. I remember when he had that Storm Shadow moment in a few episodes back, where he was just Bruce Lee'd out and was like fighting with like a sword or whatever, Storm Shadow style. I'm sorry, that episode reminded me of G.I. Joe, where he just removes his like top robes and is just in Bruce Lee style fighting Snake Eyes. That's what I thought of when I saw that episode. And then Parad just kills him, or Pallid just kills him, or thought he killed him.
Yep.
He needs to use more continues, though.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to become they're going to bring that back. I don't think they would just leave that thread untied.
You think that was more comic relief, or you think they just wanted an excuse to do that and put comic relief in there?
I'm not sure.
I'm convinced that they wanted an excuse to have a Mario pipe, so they gave him that as his powers.
Yeah, because they only did it like what, twice, and the other time that he respawned, he just walked on from off screen.
Mm-hmm. And then, by the way, if any of you have not seen the episode yet, I will. Can you link the website and where to watch Kamen Rider X8 on the video? By the way,
I would avoid it.
Okay.
Just saying.
We'll give you our Immuno, and then.
Well, actually, I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. If you watch anime for free, you know what button to push, because drama is not anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
You saved our butts from being sued.
So, that's really all we can talk about, because all we did see was that Kronos failed, or rather he won, despite being tricked.
Right.
So they're definitely building him up to be a big powerhouse character.
Mm-hmm.
Tone says we need to watch more Godzilla. Yes, we do.
Yes. We will be discussing that next, actually.
Yep. She says kiss drama. Well, not just drama, it's more Asian.
Replace drama, the word drama, with Asian, and that's the website. We're trying to avoid getting sued, so we're not going to say the full name.
Yep. Now, we by no means we neither condemn nor condone the use of free streaming sites,
But we do
but
it.
we'll have to say it's hard to watch this stuff in the States.
Yes. In fact, before we get into Godzilla, can we briefly discuss possibly why Kamen Rider isn't legally available in the States?
I believe we discussed that the first TokuCHATsu.
Did we?
Yes, I believe we did.
We briefly go over it again for the new people, because we do have a newcomer tonight.
Yep. So essentially, Kamen Rider has been attempted to be brought over to the States twice, and it failed twice.
One
and
time.
when I say, well,
yeah.
Real quick, when I say brought over, I mean adapted, just like Power Rangers is adapted from the popular show Super Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
There's your connection there, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
The first time Kamen Rider was adapted, it was adapted into a sissy PBS Kids type show. And the second time it was adapted very well. But it was horribly advertised to put on a show that nobody watches anymore. Or on a time block that nobody pretty much watches anymore.
Unfortunately, yes. And I believe
they put it in a year where that channel was already getting removed and dying out, because in 2009 the FCC basically made strict rules on the CW saying they can't have a Saturday morning kids cartoon block anymore. So that pretty much killed Kamen Rider Dragon Knight's reputation instantly.
Which is a shame, because I felt that Dragon Knight took a Kamen Rider series that I really didn't have a lot of interest in and made it interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm. I didn't care about Ryuki either, but Dragon Knight was a thrill ride. I loved how, unlike Power Rangers, where it's all innocent and hunky-dory, they actually went a dark tone with this and actually had, like, the character was a foster kid kick-out who was kicked out at 18 and actually had to fend for himself and went on this really dark adventure and actually the main villain had dark motives, corporate scheme and all that, but still, Power Rangers has never done anything like this before, and I think this was a revolutionary step for the Tokusatsu fan base in America. Unfortunately, it was handled wrong, and I can partially blame the people in charge of TV for its downfall.
At least American TV.
It was just horrible bad timing.
Yeah.
I think if it was put on Cartoon Network, it would have been saved.
Or Nickelodeon, like Power Rangers is today.
No, I don't want Nickelodeon anywhere near Kamen Rider.
Maybe like Nick at Night.
I can tolerate Nick at Night. I still hate Viacom with a dying passion, but that is a conversation for another time.
Fair enough. Anyway, so yeah, so that's why it's hard to watch Kamen Rider in its purest form in the States. They just don't make it available to us. They're not losing money when we watch it, but they're not gaining money either. Well, they actually are gaining money because we buy way too many toys.
Yes. You know when you go to cons and you see those weird Power Ranger looking figures that are armored? Or the gray alien guy who has yellow eyes?
We're the ones who buy those figures.
We're the ones who buy those figures. Or those weird flashy belts that look like they came out of a Power Ranger show. We're the ones who
buy
hold
on. Figures. Mio says, wait, is the other guy from AA2? And Tone responds with Kenman? No. Well, actually, Kenman is on AA. On Anime Amino.
Yes, I am.
Anywho, so I think that's really all we can talk about for as far as Kamen Rider goes. Why don't we hop into the latest movie, Shin Godzilla? And if you don't mind, I would like to talk about its existence and why I think it was made.
Okay, let's do that. I'll let you talk first then.
Okay, going on about 3+ years ago, America released its own Godzilla film for the second time. Went over about as well as the first time. like they got a few more things right. One, they got the fact that Godzilla is
Fat and chubby.
uh like stands upright correct, and they got the dorsal plates correct and the nuclear fire correct. But he only shows up for about 30 seconds in a dense fog. And just like with Godzilla 98, Toho has to respond quickly a few years later to say, hey, no, that's not a canon Godzilla. Let's show you what we can do to prove we're still good. And just like how they released Godzilla 2000, they released Shin Godzilla.
Yep. And that's what we are talking about tonight. Legendary can go suck it.
Yeah. Now, this definitely follows certain patterns from the old Godzilla film, and it definitely panders directly to us Godzilla fans. Kenman, you pointed this out when you were watching it. How about you go over this?
Well, I loved it. I also thought it was ridiculously hilarious. But I think that's because it was rushed, and Toho really wanted to get this movie out and prove that they are still the best at making Godzilla. And yes, it was better than 2014's Godzilla, but it was still ridiculously hilarious. What they decided to do with this was experiment with CGI, but what they didn't want to just rush into it, is my understanding. So, or at least with the CG part. So what they did was they CG'd the guy in the costume and the puppet aspect and made it look as real as they could. There were parts where you could definitely tell it was CG, but there were a lot of parts where it actually looked like a rubber monster suit stomping through a city still. Like it was like an actual giant man in a suit stomping through a city.
But this time to scale.
Yeah, to scale, yes. They pulled this off very well. And it looked like an actual CG Toku.
Yep. And I've heard that they're so attached to the rubber suit look that they are actually, going to slowly, like they're going to back off from completely CG monsters and go back to the whole rubber suits thing. Probably still using CG effects.
I also think this was a good thing because the director, you remember that TokuCHATsu made by Studio Ghibli a few years back called Giant Man or Giant Walking Man in Tokyo or something like that, and it was like this giant monstrosity thin people, or a giant warrior ascending in Tokyo. Basically,
I've seen a lot of Studio Ghibli films, but I have not seen that. I'm going to have to watch that.
They did a Toku once, and it was the director who did the Attack on Titan movie, who also did Shin Godzilla, did this as his first TokuCHATsu project, as like that he first got known for. Then he did the Attack on Titan movie, which you all can say what you want about it, but I personally loved it. This is part of the reason why that movie was so good to my mind, is why the Shin Godzilla movie was perfect to be directed by him. Yes? I'm in the middle of a stream, Kendall. I'll come with you when I'm done. Okay.
So, I definitely have to agree with you there. I've not seen the Attack on Titan film, but this definitely has. But from what I'm hearing, and from what I can see on YouTube, because I haven't decided if I'm going to watch it yet, especially the camera direction is very reminiscent of what you see in Shin Godzilla.
Yes, it is. From the up view, side view, just all the different camera angles are brilliant. Beautifully played.
Let's talk a little bit about CG for a minute. Now, obviously, it was of lower quality than you would expect here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's typical in Japan.
Yeah, despite having, a little more video gamey looking texture, the sense of motion was very fluid.
Yeah, say what you want about it. I personally loved it, but I'm a TokuCHATsu fan, so That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's like everyone's allowed to have a few bad movies that they know are bad but like.
I didn't. Well, me, it's more of I just like that style of movie. So to me, it wasn't that
Fair
bad.
enough. Like it's like you're used to that kind of directing. You can recognize it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
For someone who watches primarily anime and has to switch over to that, they might not appreciate.
Right. They won't. If you're going into this level like loving the anime, you're gonna hate this movie to hell because it's different. But if you're someone like me who absolutely loves the tokusatsu film genre and just loves the film style and doesn't care if the source material is different, then you're gonna love this movie. Now,
And would that be how you recommend it to people?
yes,
Like,
that's
if
how I
you like
recommend
Toku,
it. If you love Godzilla style movies like Rubber Monster Suit monsters attacking in Japan and all that, and just don't care if it's different from its anime source, it's a great movie. Now, if you absolutely care that it follows the plot to the dear end, you're gonna hate the hell out of it.
so kind of like me in the live action Scooby Doo movie.
Yeah,
I love it. I know it's bad, but I
love
can't help myself.
Yeah, same. Oh my gosh, another fan. High five me right here, ElChizzo. Okay.
There's no way to do this right. So,
Yeah.
back to Shin Godzilla.
Yes.
How did you feel about the way they portrayed the Big G Man?
The Big G Man. I have mixed feelings because I loved it, but I thought it was absolutely ridiculously funny at the same time. Those googly eyes.
Yeah, at the beginning before he finished his metamorphosis.
Yes. And
Well,
even
they
in
looked
his
they looked
metamorphosis, those
acutely.
googly eyes.
Well, follow me on this.
Yeah.
They reminded me of amphibious or fish eyes, which makes sense for a creature that adapted to live in the water.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And you can tell, like, especially early on, he did a lot of crawling across the ground, like legs and standing were still new to him.
Yeah. That was. Yes?
So,
Yeah, you can come in and show me something. Oh, I'm trying to show me something.
yep. So as I was saying, it's like it's definitely
You know who it is?
it's definitely
Okay, I'll see you in a little while. Okay, Kendall, please stop. No, stop. I need to. This is important.
So as I was saying, I do think that Godzilla was designed to look like he lived in the ocean. One thing that they did kind of keep across the board that I'm actually a little interested about is now if you know Godzilla, you know he has two dorsal rows going down his back of spines.
Yes.
That's usual.
Aren't there more rows? Isn't it 3 rows?
Oh, actually, most they only add like in the there's supposed to be 3, but as far I don't think they were able to attach the large. So there was like 2 large dorsal rows, and then there was some smaller ones on the edge. But this one had 3 very large dorsal rows, and I could definitely see this being a good decision, especially because they need to change something. Obviously, like the eyes didn't stick; they went to a more traditional Godzilla look, but they kept that 3rd dorsal row, which I think makes him look, despite being to scale, bigger and more menacing.
Mm-hmm. I loved that he was so like he stood up straight and really tall. He was much taller. He's like the tallest Godzilla so far, isn't he?
No, if you take sets as scale, then he is actually much smaller.
Oh, which one's the tallest then?
I would have to say the Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Destoroyah.
Okay, let me look at I'm gonna pull up a Godzilla scale real quick. Keep talking.
Anywho, I did like the whole rapid metamorphosis thing. You could tell that he did not fully understand what he was as a being.
Exactly.
He just knew that he needed more nuclear energy. And fun fact, if you look at him in the movie versus like one of his older in the new movie versus one of his older movies, you notice that in the new movie his skin does not look scaly. It looks like a flesh wound. It looks like it's burnt and charred. And what's interesting is like it was supposed to look that way back at the first one. If you talk to the costume director, he just didn't have the full ability to make it look that detailed. So people ended up interpreting that as scales. But no, the whole time Godzilla is supposed to look like he was like fire blasted.
Yeah, I noticed they went the burning Godzilla route with this Godzilla.
Yes, like versus Desitroy with the nuclear meltdown looking thing.
Do you think that was a good route to go? Like, did you personally like the how they mixed burning Godzilla with this?
Giving Godzilla a need to cool down, I think definitely was necessary to the story. I don't know if they're going to visit it again, but if he overheats again, I think it would make a good kryptonite because Godzilla's revamped every couple of movies anyway. So it's not like new lore is going to be that offensive to us as Godzilla fans.
I doubt it, because we are always cheering for more.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's so common, like it's reimagined so often that it keeps the series interesting and doesn't get us attached to little details.
Right.
And I think this is definitely a good way to kind of ring Godzilla back, the Japanese Godzilla back into the spotlight.
Yes, definitely. Do you think it worked though? Do you think all that marketing and all that stuff that they did for it, do you think the movie successfully worked as bringing back Godzilla back to the Japanese spotlight?
They're making a sequel.
Yep, and an anime movie coming out this year,
So yeah, I'd say pretty friggin' successful.
And they have a hotel. They have a Godzilla hotel now. And he is the official ambassador of Japanese tourism.
Yeah, well, because that was like the first. Oh yeah, like he was the first. He was the first Japanese icon that the world kind of recognized in pop culture.
Yes, it was. Now, is Godzilla male or female? That is the question.
It's typically referred to as a male that reproduces asexually, which doesn't really make sense. If he reproduces asexually, then I don't understand how.
It's supposed to be a female if it reproduces asexually. That's probably like the only thing they got right in the 1998 film. The only thing they got right.
Well, keeping in mind also that his chromosomes have been irradiated, so
yeah,
they could be fluctuating between XX and XY.
Okay. Godzilla just drops a baby and doesn't know.
Well, he's obviously very aware of Godzilla Jr.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Godzuki, as it's called. Oh, is that only called that in the animation? Is Godzuki only called that in the cartoon?
I think he might only be called that in the cartoon, which is unfortunate because it definitely gives him a different name.
It's called Baby Godzilla everywhere else.
Baby Godzilla, Godzilla Jr.
What is your thoughts on that? Side note, what was your thoughts on that movie, by the way? Godzilla's Revenge with Baby Godzilla fighting its bully. It was pretty much a big anti-bully movie, but still.
Godzilla just wanders off back into the ocean at the end. It's like he wasn't even really present to help his son in a tight spot. He's like, oh, I'll pop up and I'll look all pissed, but then I'll just ignore him while he says goodbye as I walk off into the ocean.
Yeah. And then wasn't the whole thing a daydream also? Like it didn't really happen?
I cannot remember.
Like they pulled a Kamen Rider versus Ultraman with a plot twist with that, where it was all a dream, and then with that it was just a bunch of kids playing with action figures.
Anyway, back to Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the human characters real quick. I love that while it definitely focused on the bureaucracy and politics that get in the way of taking action
Mm-hmm.
in this situation, I love also that they're not really butting heads.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not just like, well, my jurisdiction outweighs yours in this situation, therefore I get to be a total asshole. No, it was literally a realistic representation of how different departments have to vie for their own solution. Because they
Yeah.
all want the same goal, and they're supposed to strive for that in their own ways.
Mm-hmm. Some of their ways conflict each other.
Pardon my language, but it didn't feel like your typical pissing contest.
That's perfect. That's a perfect description, actually.
So I really felt that was beneficial to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It made Godzilla seem like that much more of a threat.
Oh, Godzilla!
That's another thing I want to talk about. How the American ambassador comes over, and she says that Godzilla already has a name in America, Godzilla, but they pronounce it Gojira the rest of the movie, whereas in the original English dub of Godzilla, they call him Gojira one time and then Godzilla the rest of the time.
Yeah. That was a good Easter egg. I didn't catch that. Good catch.
I didn't notice it until Apollo Z Hack mentioned it in his review of one of the toys.
Ooh, I gotta catch that video. Thank you.
I am definitely loving what they're doing with the nuclear fire breath.
Yes. Oh,
it's
that
like
thing where it's in all directions.
I love that. They're definitely bringing him up a notch, which also makes sense why they have to debuff him as far as having, you know, the kryptonite of overheating goes.
But I love OP in this movie. He was very overpowered.
Very much so. What I love too is the effect they chose. Like, yes, he does light up and glows, but when he breathes fire, it doesn't just shoot right out of his maw. You can tell that's where it's coming from, but you're only just able to perceive it at the very edge of his maw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also separates from his jaw separates.
Yeah, you can tell he kind of unhinges it. There was some flesh down there that was not burned.
Ooh, yeah. Did it stay that way after that, though? Or I can't remember. Did it form back together? I think it formed back together.
I'm not sure. Keeping in mind how cancer cells work, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, given his size, cancer would just boost his healing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Because they wouldn't, like, even if he had, I'm not an expert on cancer, but as I understand it, it's when irregular cells reproduce out of control and reconstruct. And so it would make sense in a pseudo-scientific way for a creature that large to be able to heal using cancerous cells.
Yeah, and if you think about it, yeah, that version of Godzilla was just a savage monstrosity in itself. So
yeah, he didn't show any emotion. He didn't show any emotion. He wasn't even conscious of what he was. He only had one goal in mind, like a force of nature.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, Godzilla. This version of Godzilla acts like an animal. It sees and does. It's like a dog chasing cars, as the Joker says.
Except this time it knows what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Except this time he knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, he has only one direction he's going, and that's it. That nuclear power point. That nuclear power plant. Nothing else is to mind. That's the only thing it cares about. It's, again, like I said, a dog chasing cars.
And of course, they had to bring in what many Toku fans refer to as kaiju bothering weapons.
The tanks.
The tanks, the bombs, the friggin' entire nuclear the entire nuclear arsenal of Japan plus America.
Does nothing. Except for the and where they use the what is it, carbon, yeah, the carbon monoxide, I think,
The coagulant.
Yeah, coagulant, to freeze him from the inside while he's laying down, because they
Yeah, that was so that it would cool his fission core.
Because he was a walking nuclear exhaust at that point, wasn't he? Because it was all
yeah,
heated up.
he was just shedding radiation. Which again is an interesting parallel, making this a very unique movie because it's happening so recently after a nuclear disaster in Japan, which is another tie to the original.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because the original was about the fear of nuclear weapons, which is why the teaser trailer to Godzilla 2014 used the speech. We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed, few people cried, others were silent. Yes? Not too loud.
Yep. So that's an interesting tie-in to its original.
Yes? You need me? Yes, ma'am.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm going to keep it running for a minute.
First reading, you're on.
Yes, ma'am.
And go take care of what you need to take care of.
Oh, okay. I need to hang up.
Okie doke. I'm just going to... We're just getting towards the end of this anyway. So, Shin Godzilla was definitely an interesting take on what we view as the formula for Godzilla movies. Godzilla shows up. If there's another monster, he fights it. If there isn't another monster, the government tries to destroy him. However, they also hinted very plainly, which is why we're getting a sequel now, that the measures they took were very temporary. It wasn't even a hint. They just said all is peaceful until Godzilla starts moving again. Now, the fact that they are going into using rubber suits again, as much as I would like to see it with rubber suits and the same energy effects that they used in this latest movie, I don't think it's going to have the same impact, because whoever's wearing the rubber suit will be stomping around a set of some sort, even if it's a green screen set. And they're just not going to have that same smooth motion that you get with a digital perspective. And we're not going to... It's going to look a lot less organic unless they make a very expensive suit made up of multiple parts that reveals more detail depending on how it's posed. So part of me is excited for the rubber suits. Another part of me is wary. We are going to watch the movie and form an opinion after that. And Miss Mio, oh, that's an awesome fact. Thank you. What? I want to go to the Godzilla Hotel. Yeah, I want to go too. That's really all I can say for tonight. So, Kenman says, sorry. It's okay, man. Although, yeah, just we'll work something out to the point where we can get through a stream without you being interrupted. Well, it's probably just a scheduling thing. We'll figure it out. And on that note, I think it's a good point to stop the stream. Thank you so much for tuning into TokuCHATsu. We're going to try to do it on Wednesdays. If that does not work out, we will let you know. So you'll have Sunday stream night. You'll have Tech Talk Tuesday coming back in a few weeks with JT. And you'll have TokuCHATsu on Wednesdays if schedules don't change. Don't forget, we are still looking for other kinds of reviewers to join the dojo. This is a passion project. This isn't really a try to make money project. So So if you're interested, let us know. You can tweet at us on Twitter, at @weekend_dojo, all lowercase. Don't forget, you still need to tweet us subject ideas for this coming Sunday stream night. There's only a few days left. There's only 3 days left. So far, it's looking like we don't have any answers yet, so it doesn't look like it's going to come down to a poll. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wait for your tweets. If not, we'll have to come up with something on Saturday. So in order to avoid some something last minute, please give us ideas over on Twitter. And obviously we'll see you next week talking about next week's Kamen Rider episode. And I think we'll have a look at a Gamera film for this next coming TokuCHATsu. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow us at Weekend Dojo over on Facebook. That's capital W, capital D, Weekend Dojo. Or you can follow us at Weekend_Dojo on Twitter. Remember to go back to the Weekend Dojo channel page and check out all the channels in the featured channel description. You'll find me, Kenny, the reviewer formerly known as Kenman Rider, and JT Games TV. We'd be excited to have your viewership. Thank you all so much for watching. As Kenny would say, stay more phenomenal, you more fanatics. And as I would always say, I will see you later, bugheads. Thank you so much for watching.